Today, we will move from concept to practice. Yesterday, we talked a lot about conceptual side of theory-based evaluation. Today, we will have more hands-on practice on theory-based evaluation. We will talk about logical framework, and I will show you the practicalities of how to build a logical framework, from logical framework to a theory of change. And firstly, logical framework. As we have emphasized yesterday, these are important concepts that you should know the meaning of and the line and linear relationship between them, because in the logical framework, this linear relationship is important. In theory of change, it doesn't need to be a linear relationship. There could be interactions between each other, but you should know basically the definitions. What these stand for: objectives, input, activities, outputs, outcomes, impact. In some evaluations, it may change. Like it could be like objectives could be needs, inputs, activities, outputs can be direct results, outcomes can be intermediate results, impact could be goals. So there are. Let me repeat one more time. Objectives, okay, maybe needs, maybe specified as needs. Inputs are always usually used as inputs. And then activities are usually always known as activities. Outputs can be also rephrased as direct results. Outcomes can be emphasized as intermediate results, and impact could be related to goals. So don't be surprised when you see these also different synonyms, but within the framework of this lecture and this workshop, I will stick on to this definition, this type of movements. So what is logical framework? Basically, logical framework, logic model, logical framework, however you may say, there are also different varieties of talking about it. Log frame matrix, logical framework, logic model. This is a snapshot of what happens between the program's objectives and its impact. So general logic model is like this matrix. This matrix involves all of the objectives that we have in our program or in the policy. And for each objective, there should be inputs for each objective. Those inputs can be human resources, financial resources, educational resources, materials, whatever you are talking about. Inputs. Activities are what you do with these inputs, the use of these inputs, and from these activities, what happens to outputs, and from these outputs, what are the outcomes? Short term, intermediate term, and impact. So just like a little bit of a more understanding of the definitions and be more clear in our minds. Objectives is what we want to achieve at the end of the program. For example, reduce illness occur due to poor sanitation. Okay?
Because it is like a problem that we want to solve. Right?
Exactly. Problem that we want to solve. This is the ultimate objective. These objectives can have sub-objectives, of course. So, for example, reduce death and illnesses in the targeted communities. Another type of an objective could be to teach people about how to mitigate. Another objective to talk about to have children not to drink that water, to train families. So this could be sub-objectives. So, but the ultimate objective is to reduce death and illnesses. The inputs, as I said, are the materials that we use, financial capital, human capital, and any other materials which are tangible or intangible, but mostly tangible. Activities is what you do with these inputs. Maybe it could be construct and rehabilitate water points. Activities, you can also have many more activities according to your objectives. The direct results of the activities are outputs. So what that means is we have now, after we construct, because this is an activity, but what is the result of that activity? Better water coming. So community water points constructed, rehabilitated. Number of water points constructed to national standards. So activities result with output. Okay. So outputs are not outcomes. Outcomes are, because of this output, what is happening to the community. The change that is achieved as a result of this output. What happens? Improved. So we have water points, we have financial capital, we have water points. People have access to these water points because of this output. That is outcome. People having access and use of sustainable sources of safe water. Impact is what is at the end of the program. Healthy society, less illness of due to water-borne diseases. Okay, is this clear? So this is very important for understanding the differences between outcomes and outputs and impact. So what is theory of change? Then, now we have seen the logic model. What is theory of change? According to UNDP, this is the definition of theory of change. It is a method that explains how given intervention or a set of interventions are expected to lead a specific developmental change, drawing on a causal analysis based on available evidence. So we have evidence-based evaluation in theory-based evaluation. We have to find evidences. So the aim is to explain the causality. In other words, we explain how and why the activities are causing the desired outcomes. So, yeah, I'm not going to go over these because you may also be able to read later. The purpose with regards to theory of change is to show how is the program being implemented and why, what is the intended outcome, what is the intended long-term impact. And it also takes into account of, as we said yesterday, assumptions, contextual factors, in other words, like political factors, stability of the government, things like that, hypotheses, unintended impacts, unplanned impacts, prerequisites, supporting factors. It does not have to have all of them together in the same theory of change, but it may be possible for you to select and take some of them, because it may not be always the case that you may find everything to write under each title, but usually these has to be also taken into account in the theory of change. Just like the economics, do anyone knows econometrics? Yeah, in economics, we keep all other variables constant to be able to see the impact of independent variable on dependent variable. That is why we are taking into consideration the all other variables constant, ceteris paribus. Okay, so similarities with economics. So it is usually via a flow chart. Why is it useful? It allows us to see the roadmap. It allows us to take a picture of what works, what we don't see as working in evaluation. And it helps us to clarify and articulate and connect our work to the bigger goal and allows us to spot potential risks. Yeah, so the main steps is this. Yeah, we talked about yesterday the importance of stakeholders, consultation of the stakeholders when we develop theory of change. Stakeholders, beneficiaries, people who are in the community, people of the leaders of the community, the funding agency funders. So we have to talk about that. Focus and identify what is needed to change, reflect assumptions, and identify other relevant actors and factors. I will skip this. One example is from India, a mother and child tracking system. They wanted to clarify if it is working or not. The goal was to be able to understand, to be able to have mothers have access to help via telephone, via application in India, but it was not very successful. So what they did was in the middle of the project, they developed the theory of change and to see what is going on. Why are the mothers not able to get access to that? So their question was exactly what is going on. Who are the people involved and what are their roles? What are the bottlenecks we should work towards solving the issue? So as I said, as you see, theory of change can be used at every stage of the project and every stage of the evaluation. This is from that. So you can watch this project from YouTube if you want to have more information about that. And after that, with using the theory of change and the analysis that guided them from theory of change, they were able to update the service of the mother and child tracking system and how it affects their everyday work and how it impacted the infant mortality rate in India. So this was key to access, to assure that the program is successful. This is a table that shows us the differences between theory of change and logical framework. Firstly, any questions first? Is it, I have been a little bit fast, but you have anything that is not clear? Yes.
I have just a comment that this logical framework is very similar to the framework that is being used while developing the project proposal.
Of course, exactly. Yes.
It's
Yes.
the same, actually.
Yes. Yeah, in developing project proposal, the theory logical framework is very, very useful. Actually, you may even quantify the goals like I will achieve this amount of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, very good, very true, very true. In most of the European project, in most of the projects that we are writing and you are writing, it can be used as a point of reference. Any other questions? Okay, so the differences between theory of change, why it will happen. Logical framework is what we are expecting. It works to identify why activities will create outcomes. It here identifies what will happen. So it's mostly why here, and this is what, question of what, simply, just very quite simply, establishes the underlying causes. It does not necessarily deal with causality. It works to understand the context in which the program operates, and it recognizes the external factors. It focuses more on the program, the logical framework. It is more narrow. And it's best created before an intervention starts, mapping backwards from the impact coming to the input. It is often created after the program has been developed, initiated, and working forward from resources through activities and to the results. Yes.
From the point of view of evaluation, was just mentioned, both what frame and theory of change that developed for the project at the project development stage as well. If it was not developed at that stage for evaluation, we might develop them
Later.
to figure out what were the implicit assumptions. Can you bring some example for which cases we would know where we need logical framework versus theory, and how would we make for this type of evaluation? We better develop theory of change, and for this case, we better go with working. On this.
If I understood you correctly, in what circumstances would theory of change will be sufficient or logical framework will be sufficient? No, both of them are together. They are complementary. Yeah. Both of them go together because logical framework is giving us the picture, snapshot. Theory of change, but if you are looking at, if you don't want to look at causalities, maybe logical framework will be sufficient. But theory of change is to be able to understand what is missing, what is not in the program, and what is the reasons why the program is successful or not.
Because if we have, for instance, a program which is very well tried and replicable, right? I'm not interested in causality.
Maybe.
It works in the renewable energy, for instance.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Okay.
Actually, we would be fine with logical framework.
But it is in a different context, in a different country.
We would still want to.
Why wouldn't you want to look at the external factors?
Resources, maybe. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, but you would prefer to have both.
Well, logical framework is very important. It is something that you have to have. But theory of change also is a very complementary tool for that. But what do you think, my colleagues?
We want to add more similar together, but they are complementary together and combined. They need to be both of them, theory of change and logical framework. So depends on the topic, on the project topic. So hopefully we use theory of change and logical framework more, but sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested in an example. So
But
normally, she wants to know an example about. Normally, if you use theory of change, you include in the theory of change also the logical framework. Even if it's not a statical one, but it includes also logical framework. So if you choose to make theory of change, you will also include information about the steps we have to in a problem, in a project. The approach is different because in the theory of change, you will not follow the pathway to objectives, results, impact. It's the difference how you make the pathway. You have the problem in theory of change, you have then the impact, and then you create outcomes, outputs, activities, and so on. So if in the logical framework you start with the problem, objective, outcome, impact, here is first and then try to make the middle. But from my point of view, it's more complex to make the theory of change and more useful. Because in the theory of change, you should put the whole picture of the project and the dynamic between the parts of the project. In logical framework, normally you have an objective, you have more outcomes or an objective, and you have, at the end, no, you don't have the impact in logical framework. In theory of change, you see also the connection between these, and maybe you have from an objective, not from one outcome, not only for one objective. You have one outcome on more objectives. So you can see these links, but I think that that will show you. Normally, what I found in practice is that a lot of clients want to have this theory of change in the format of a logical framework, because it's more easy for them to understand. But it's not so nice, let's say, because you cannot see these links between the parts of the theory of change. But after that we explain, I will show you, because you can find also some movies on YouTube.
Yeah, they have
how
explain about.
how to make the theory.
And I'm just curious, if in a collective experience in the room, you have always used both in the
No,
evaluation.
I haven't used both. In some cases, yes.
And
In the evaluation that I worked, I did not have, I mean, I wanted to have them to put the theory of change in their report. But it was not there when I was giving a consultation to the firm. Yeah,
It was not because of the type of the project, but because of client requirements.
exactly, yes.
Got it.
Yeah. The clients usually don't know much about this type of thing. I mean, the theory of change, and
But in the last period, a lot of
They
them
started
asked
to learn.
about theory of change.
Yeah.
Everybody wants theory of change, not logical framework, because it's, let's say, trendy now. Theory of change. And everybody asked me to, I have projects in which, before starting the evaluation, they asked me to reconstruct the theory of change from the beginning, and then have also the theory of change for the evaluation at the end. So it's a mess, because it's very difficult sometimes to reconstruct step by step what happened in order to have the whole picture. But in the last period, many clients were theory of change.
so they have learned a lot more.
I think if they learn, or if they
Heard.
heard about this and consider it more nice.
Yeah, more fancy
Yeah.
in the.
The second thing here.
I
Yeah,
just want to
sorry.
say what you said, that sometimes they look the same and you don't know. And this is what happens with us, that I think in practice, the difference between the design of logical framework and the theory of changes. Like there's not much difference, so you actually don't know in the end. It's just like, was it supposed to be a logical framework, or they sell it as a theory of change? And so I don't know if you did have similar experiences, and how we could maybe find a better solution to like separate from that.
Yes, but you will see in the end slide, there are two examples that combine theory of change and logical framework in the same, like Claudia said, because it's easier to follow. Yeah.
For example, my last experience was that I propose a theory of change with a lot of connection between elements, and they told me, yes, we understand, but it's too difficult for the other to understand.
Yeah.
Please translate this in a more like a logical framework. Okay, I did a great job.
Yeah.
And if you told me from the beginning that you work like this, I maybe I would put less effort to do it. But yes, I think that we put in the package that we sent for them also some examples of evaluation based on theory of change.
Yes,
I sent one to you.
the
The
case
public.
study, yes. The
Okay.
case study we will be using in the afternoon. that?
I think one, yes.
Okay,
workshop, yeah.
the workshop.
But my understanding was that you're gonna have logic model to start evaluation with. If you don't have logic model, what are you evaluating for the narrative part of project? You should come up with the logical model yourself for the project.
In theory-based evaluation, it's always logical model you have to have. Yeah. But if you have like other approaches of evaluation, there may not be a logical model. If you are just evaluating whether the program have achieved its objectives, it's objective-based evaluation, that may not require, but usually now, as my colleagues also emphasize, it's important to have a logical model.
And, you know, when you have a problem or a problem, yes, normally you have this logical framework at the beginning. Because this is how you construct, you design the project based on logical model. But if you make an evaluation of a policy, for example, you have no logical framework at the beginning. Sometimes when you have the problem, it's very difficult to find a huge problem on 7 years and so on. It's difficult to find the logical framework because they don't design the logical framework. It's something else when we discuss about projects. Because projects normally have this logical framework from the beginning. But in case of policies, it's not the case. It's not the case.
Yeah, and also it depends, you see on this slide, it depends on the context, it depends on the importance of your program, it depends on the complexity of the program, how complex the scenario is, and the time, the resources, all depends on whether you want to develop a very complex theory of change or not. Clear a little bit more? Okay, thank you. Okay, so in the development of logical model, logic framework, the common components are, I will repeat that again, objectives or needs, inputs, activities, outputs, direct results, outcome, intermediate results, goals, impacts, as well as identifying causality with respect to these. Just a summary slide. So, for example, very simple example, you have a headache from allergy. What is input? You get water and you get your pills. What is the output? Taking the pill, because the input is here. Taking the pill is output. Out is outcome, you feel better. So exactly what is going on with regards to input, output, and medicine outcome. What is the assumption? Medicine will work. It's a good medicine. Also, external factors, we have high pollen count, that also is this medicine goes with this situation.
This is a simplified version of the previous model because taking the pill can also be activity in previous roles.
I see, yes, that is true, yeah. Yeah, but we have skipped this activity here. It's a very, very simple. Very, very simple. Take your.
Yeah, making it more complex, the activities should be to go to take you from the pharmacy.
Pharmacy. Taking your money.
Outside for the fresh air, so anyway, this is a simple.
Actually, this is what you are asking, yeah. Pills are input. Making the pills available for the patient is an activity. The patient, the pill is the direct result. The patient who feels better is an outcome. So that is a very, very simple example, but it will give you some things to remember when you're writing your own proposal. Another is input, curriculum, staff time, after school program, output, 6-week after school training with students, activities may be preparation of this 6 weeks. So in between maybe we could have activities, short-term outputs, increase student knowledge, Intermediate, intervene in unhappy relationships, increase the number of healthy relationships. So this is also another logical model. Outcome statement. Students ages 14, 17 in the after school program. This is the student. Change, increase. Knowledge in what? By the end of the semester. So it's also a little bit to be able to have a clearer picture of this. So this is the input, output, short-term outcome, intermediate outcome, and long-term outcome. So it's a movement from here to be able to make the link between activities, outcome and output, and outcomes. Another example, I will not want to go over that since we don't have much time. But here you also see, I'm just going to give inputs like the sufficiency of human resources, sufficiency of financial resources, activities that encourage consumers to health improvements, consumers' outputs related to these activities, outcomes that are resulting from these activities, and the impact at the final is improved health status. So that was the logic model, logical framework. So it's linear as it is, from input to activities to output to outcome to impact. We will provide these slides to you, so you will have more time to go through that. So this was the logical framework. As my colleagues said, theory of change is something more complex. So from one side to another loop, maybe to something. So it may change according to your program. It may change according to your variables, but that may be something that may be a little bit more complicated. But logical framework demonstrates input, output, outcomes. Theory of change demonstrates the big picture that you may not control or you may control, and show all the way and all the causalities, the interaction between inputs, interaction between activities. If one activity is not successful, then the other activity may not be successful. So it describes how one way leads to another. This is an example that I would like to talk about. In Malawi, development project, a rural development project. Helper International is an NGO that is based in United States, and it has intervention in usually in the global south, in Africa or in Southeast Asia. And they also have programs in Malawi, and they have been working in Malawi since 2006, and they provided training for families in livestock and crop production, and working with them for climate smart agriculture techniques to conserve water. So there are different projects there, and by applying sustainable practices, farmers are diversifying crop yield, incomes, diets, and are more resilient for climate change. So the developmental model, the intervention that we have for International provides in Africa is training, to give training to the women usually. Also Social capital, providing opportunities for women to cooperate, form cooperation, cooperative, support groups, and work together with them so that one will not be enough, but when they get together, they will be able to have more income and yield. Asset transfer is something that Heifer International is doing globally. They give one cow to each woman in each family, and the cows are bred over time, and the young generation, the babies, the cows, are given to their neighbors. So we call that pass on the gift. So the basic people have the original cow, and the babies are given to another person. That is also some type of a creation of networking of individuals to have interaction with each other. And the second and the third generation is also passed on the gift. So we have this passing on the program. So this is a picture from the training, from the support group. The women, they have been working together, and these are the cooperatives, the women from the cooperatives that have been working together. This is a success story. This woman was describing how she is able to have her daughter to send, like she is able to send her daughter to high school, and now she's going to university. They have changed from this houses to this type of brick houses because of this project. So that is also visible result. So of course, talking about visible result is not enough. We have to make some quantitative analysis to see whether the living income increased over a certain level. So the largest framework of this project, simply objective is to improve the income of the family. What are the inputs? Female farmers, trainers that are in the field, female farmers and trainees, and dairy cows. These are the inputs. What are the activities? Dairy production training for the cooperative, and asset transfer. These are the activities. What are the outputs? Educated women farmers for dairy production, female-run cooperative, women with dairy cows. Outcomes: short-term improvement in living income, improvement in social capital, daily production, medium welfare gains. The goal are the societal welfare gains, so this will be carrying on to the sustainability with the other generations to come. The theory of change is a little bit more complex, but not that much complex in this example. We have social capital development because of the networking of the women. We even actually tried to measure the impact of social capital quantitatively on income improvement. How this improvement in social capital using the social network analysis, we were able to connect this with income. So this through this will go to income. So social capital development, the intervention, training and asset transfer increases knowledge capabilities, collective action, it improves saving groups, consumption smoothing investment with cooperatives and value chain, improvements in production capacity, income, access to resources. The assumptions are that institutional framework is stable, women are in need, are eager to participate, Formal training of personnel is sufficient, and the cows are healthy. And there are 100 cows and 100 families for projects to be initiated. Unintended effects, social network improve, a positive consequence over time, and supporting factors are Pepper International provide resources for evaluation and language support from Helm Allowed. So those were all things that we were able to see. This is an example from another example from Romania, which I don't know much, but that was probably, maybe Claudia will know. That was exactly what we were talking about, putting logical framework into the theory of change. So here we have needs, as I said before, please do not be confused. These are objectives or needs, activities, inputs, outcomes, and impact. So with regards to this, the need is the improvement of the management of project evaluation, contracting, and monitoring. The activities are all of these: direct results, intermediate results, and impacts, and we have contextual factors, hypothesis, unintended effects, prerequisites, supporting factors. I cannot read all of these. I do not want to read all of these to you, but you see there has been the contextual factor belongs to here, for example, instability of the institutional framework, the extent to which there are changes in the government. So we tie these activities with the direct results by incorporating these contextual factors, hypotheses, effects, prerequisites, and supporting factors. This is one example. Another example is the evaluation of the program's contribution to the coordination and control of the European Structural Investment Fund. Laura and Mihaela is going to be here with us in the before lunch. So probably Laura will have more explanations related to these models. But I just wanted to show here that theory of change and logical framework can be used together as here. This is another thing. So we have needs, activities, direct results, intermediate results, and impacts, and the connection between the steps within the model.
Important also to work on the assumptions. What are the conditions that should be fulfilled in order to accomplish one outcome? For example, if the policy framework will change in an area, this means that maybe your outcome cannot be fulfilled at the end. And the theory of change shows you that this is the prerequisite to fulfill the outcome. If not, there is a risk not to have there. Normally, logical frameworks, you don't have this part directly connected to the outcome, not only to say, yes, we should have this factor that could affect us. No, the theory of change is specify where these factors could affect. In all the programs. So in all the programs. But yes, it's not very nice to see all these, because in more in a logical framework sense there, and you should know all the explanations behind this thing. It's not enough only to make the thing of the theory of change. You should also explain the theory of change for a client. So you don't finish the job when you make the whole picture, nice picture, sometimes we need someone to make all these connections and look very nice. Because we draw on, sometimes I draw on a paper, and then I ask someone else to make all this, because I don't know to draw very well on the computer. But it's very important, let's say the story behind the theory of change.
Yeah, so this is a broad question. When I see the chart, how am I able to tell that this is, and know for myself that this is a mixture of both? Because, I know that if we just kind of charts and we say it's a theory of change, but we never say it's also because it's a logical framework.
Well, if you take out the numbers, for example, there from there, it will be more like a logical one. And if you put the assumptions, the numbers and the things, I don't know, and something that will be more of a logical framework plus theory of change.
So if we have this kind of model without the assumptions and without the numbers, it's more logical framework, but we still say it's a theory of change.
No, we don't.
We do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so this is what I mean, like, so I'm just thinking, how can I use this knowledge when I go back and tell my coworkers or my supervisor, even that also that's the same, then
Yeah.
we should maybe consider more things like the assumptions. We always leave them out, but
What is the theory of change? You should have that. Yeah. It's not like to choose to have or choose not to have. No, you should have the assumptions there. And normally, the problem here is that the theory of change and the logical framework are part of the problem theory. They develop first logical framework. Then they discover that the logical framework is not enough for what we need. We need something else. We need something that shows us that we can show us how we can, what are the factors that influence this change. And that's why we can now theory of change. In a simple explanation, because there are a lot of other issues behind the theory of change. But you have logical framework, and then you put the assumptions, the factors that influence, and theory of change. And not only a linear connection between elements. This is what we have.
I think maybe the thing with the assumptions is, I think someone was mentioned also yesterday that maybe they seem to be, like, assumptions may not seem very scientifically, so maybe this is why, like, in our case, and maybe other students, you are a bit trying
Yeah.
to do some assumptions, so this maybe you already mention them. But, yeah.
You know, the assumptions are made based on the focus on your data analysis. Outside of what you do.
Yeah. So when you read the assumptions here, they are actually not very complex, and it's not easy. It's not hard to take to control. Institutional framework is stable. The legislation framework is stable, except for necessary changes resulting from the implementation of the program. The motivation of the staff is sufficient. I'm just summarizing. The managing authority of the program has sufficient capacity. Consultancy services are sufficient. Public procurement procedures are existing. There is the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are the assumptions. And this program, for example, assumptions are involved, explained here, structured with improved cooperation with ministry. With this assumption, has this lead to the result. Okay, so if there is this is not present, this line will not be existing.
And then
Also, Yeah, but the worst thing is that you will have to have this type of. Very complex thing. You must explain this to your client or explain the to your client. It's easier to show this to the client and explain.
Well, I don't think that. Here.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, then this was a redo, the one, because it's never wait after, another year. So we started as a logic intervention, but then, the time, like, you see, and I first you have changed.
I don't know, maybe I can
Yeah.
tell.
So, yeah, we had to do it, start with the logical intervention to make it more you.
Fish.
And it goes back to I mean, both are on the same program. Also already active. The previous one.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm going to and the additional factors between the last two boxes. One part of the business plan, but then we got the feedback from the client that we don't want to deal with it. This thing, so we added this. So we wanted to we did it like this, like we had three more boxes and put some other numbers, and on the next one, we did it.
Okay.
No, this one,
Yeah. This one.
yeah.
Also, in the first one, this is what I also like, hypothesis. So that it will be possible to test in quantitative analysis. So one is strategic capacity level in formulating the needs to be covered by the technical assistance operational program. Openness of the actors involved in the application of unit for support tools. I'm not actually sure whether these are the ones that we have tested. Did you test these hypotheses?
No, not yet.
No, okay. So it may be possible also to fix hypotheses if you are going to do tested. Okay. I have 5 more minutes. This afternoon, these are the references. There are many references about the many references about logical framework. And this afternoon, you will be more enhanced. You will have more hands-on with these theory of change. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Very good. Okay, then I'm not going to go over this workshop. I will go over this workshop in the afternoon in the beginning. Well, let's find something that we show us.
Sizin de bildiğiniz gibi bir süredir Open English'i kullanıyorum ve o kadar memnun kaldım ki size de en beğendiğim yanlarını anlatmak istiyorum. Bir defa ana dili İngilizce olan sertifikalı eğitmenlerden ister
Of them, we do things without being clear about the impact we will have.
Also, they can see.
They can see, but I'm not sure that they can see that.
Share the link with them. Share the link with them. And
Okay, I think now they can hear. If you want, I
Okay.
can share the link too. We can share the
Want
link.
to have, and the assumptions that underpin the activities we're doing. If we're not careful, we can be very busy doing things that don't actually create the change that we want to see. Many organizations and individuals keen to create impact in the world really struggle to make that change happen. The theory of change is a helpful tool to create milestones and targets whilst showing a logical process of how activities lead to impact. Meet Danielle, an internationally recognized expert in HIV treatment. Danielle is very active in the HIV/AIDS community. For the past few years, she has been researching the virus in Africa. She was shocked by the number of children who are still infected with HIV every day. Danielle knows there are cheap and effective ways to prevent children from contracting the virus. If only there was a way to help HIV-positive mothers to keep their children healthy. The problem is that most health centers in this part of Africa are understaffed and don't have the time to teach mothers how to keep themselves and their little ones healthy. Danielle is also aware of the stigma of HIV that causes women to live in fear and keeps them from getting the care they need. Danielle has an idea to help HIV-positive mothers through a mentoring scheme. Empowered mothers living with HIV would work in understaffed health centers as members of the healthcare team and provide health education and mental support to other HIV-positive mothers. Knowing she needs to have a clear idea about what activities are needed and how they will create impact, Danielle has come across a theory of change tool and decides to give it a try. She begins by writing down her long-term goal. At the other end of the worksheet, Danielle writes down the current issue that has triggered her to think this way. She finds it useful to take note of the assumptions she made while filling in the worksheet. She then starts working outwards from the defining problem. Danielle identifies the people that are most affected by the issue and who she hopes would help her with her work. This helps her to identify the stakeholder groups that she needs to influence to achieve her long-term goal. Danielle has identified that women are far more likely to listen to other women in their community and decides to focus her efforts on a mentoring scheme led by HIV-positive mothers. Thinking about what she wants to achieve, Danielle writes down some practical steps that she can take to make change happen. What would the immediate result be? Danielle thinks of outputs that would help her see if her idea is working and show other people that what she's doing is starting to make a difference. Lastly, Danielle lists the key outcomes that her activity would lead to. These are the preconditions she needs to realize her goal. The theory of change template helped Danielle map out the logical sequence of her initiative, from its inputs to its outcomes, all on one page. Danielle can see all the possible steps she could take to bring her idea to life. She is also aware of all the assumptions that she needs to test along the way. And it can work the same for small projects and for senior executives attempting large organizational change. So if you have an idea for change, why not try to map out your way to impact?